Chapter 22. Wilks sat in control with McQuaid and Tully. In theory, the ship ought to be out of Gateway's visual and sensor range. Never knew if some techno-geek with a telescope might be looking right at them, but that wasn't likely. Wilks gripped the back of Tully's chair tightly and hoped that their shielded call would go through. "Now we wait," said Tully, as she finished tapping the keys. "If we're lucky, she'll catch her messages soon." "And if she doesn't?" said McQuaid. "We wait longer," Wilks said. A coded direct signal could be channeled accurately if you knew what you were doing. In theory, outsiders wouldn't be able to collect it unless they were looking very carefully, and even then, they wouldn't be able to tap into it. There was some risk, but it ought to be minimal, and it was one they had to take. Time passed. A burst of static crackled over the comm. A hum as compressed Vox files expanded. And there was the time delay, but... "About goddamn time! I expected you a week ago." Tully smiled. "Hey there, Fem Elliot. How's life in the box?" Once again, the radio waves took their sweet and slow time, and they waited for a reply. "Maria? I should have known you'd still be around. Say, you reckon you've got enough scramble on this signal? It's taking a hell of a lot of my comp's memory. The officials here aren't that smart, you know. Just how important do you think you are?" Wilks leaned towards the comm. "Thought we'd check in and see what you think." "Ooh, my heart. Is that the infamous Sergeant Wilks? How's the action, Sarge?" "Not bad, Leslie. We got what we were looking for." "That's great, folks. Congratulations. And how is everyone?" Wilks said, "We've had a few losses." There was a longer pause than the waves needed. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Yeah," said Wilks. Tully spoke up. "Our immediate concern is who else has been expecting us. What you got, Les?" "Well, you all raised quite a fuss a few months back. I believe the terms were subversive and mentally unstable. Oh, and malicious intent. To make a long story short, the official trickle-down was that a bunch of nuts stole a ship for no good reason except to fuck with the powers that be." McQuaid chuckled. "Not too far off," he said. Wilks frowned. "Is that all?" "You're kidding, right? Unofficially, General Peters got a very large boot jammed in his very tight ass for not recognizing the magnitude of your insanity. There are warrants out for all of you. The good news is that they think you're crackpots, so maybe you'll get stuck in a nice clean hospital room and not a regular cell. And they're not expecting you for another 6 weeks, if then." "Why's that?" said Wilks. "Oh, they turned up a map in your quarters that placed your destination much farther away," she said. Billie stepped forward, her pale face tensed and eager. Wilks hadn't even noticed her come in. "Leslie, it's Billie. How are things on Earth?" "Communication's been shot for weeks. Atmospheric static, sunspots acting up, something like that. But whatever the bugs are doing down there, it's gotten worse." "What about the satellite uplinks?" said Billie. She looked close to tears, but her voice was strong. "The last signals we got are old news. I have to tell you, it wasn't good. Anyone left on Earth probably belongs to the aliens now, one way or the other. I'm sorry." Wilks put his hand on Billie's shoulder, but she shook it off. "Listen, do me a favor and pipe the last few days of transmissions to us. Can you do that?" "No problem." "Thank you," Billie said. She walked out of the room. "Listen, I'm glad to hear from you, but let's go easy with this. Even with the scramble. I'll let you know if something important comes up. And take care, okay? You too, Wilks said. The comm went silent. McQuaid turned to Wilks. Doesn't sound like we're going to win any votes here, he said. Wilks shrugged. To get to the bombs, we're going to have to get in their gun sights at some point, he said. And we've got the Queen. I doubt we'll get any help from them, but maybe we can persuade them to let us have our shot. And even at the worst case, they won't blow us out of space. They want the Kurtz back. McQuaid nodded, but looked uncertain. Wilks walked back to talk to the rest of the crew. The station wouldn't spot them for a few more hours, so they had time to come up with alternate plans. Wilks knew that he was good in tight situations. He was trained for it. But shit like this? Damn it, why isn't Ripley doing this? Fuck her humanity, or lack of it. They were better off with her in charge. He knew his limits, and they were not far off. Billie sat alone in the med lab at the small computer. The room was cold and gleaming white. It gave her a strange kind of nostalgia for the hospital she had spent most of her life in. Right now there were more important things on her mind, however. She tapped in a short description of Amy and waited for a match. The screen flickered. A fuzzy picture flashed on screen of a young girl with a bad haircut. She stared at Billie for a few seconds, eyes too serious for a child. How old was she now? 13? 14 maybe? Oh, baby, thought Billie. Her heart tightened, but at the same time she felt a huge relief. Is it on? Amy said. Her voice had deepened slightly, and it looked as if she'd made an effort to wipe her face clean. Go ahead, honey, said a voice off screen. Me and Daddy are in a factory that used to make microchips in Northern California. We're probably going to move soon. Uncle Paul is gone now. He went to look for food almost 2 weeks ago, and I hope that he's just hiding, but we don't think so. Her face clouded as she spoke, but her young eyes didn't waver from the camera. It's getting warmer all the time. We have a new friend named Mordecai, and he says that he thinks the aliens have heated things up somehow with their nesting materials. She smirked, a surprisingly adult gesture. Mordecai also says the goddamn religious fucks are as bad as the aliens now. She glanced past the camera sheepishly, and then raised her eyebrows, obviously the recipient of a nasty look. Well, he said it. A sigh off screen. I know, honey. Go on. Anyway, we wanted to tell you that the aliens have been acting strange for a few weeks. They've been grouping together and staying quiet for days at a time, and no one knows why. The little girl frowned. I guess that's all, she said. The old man's voice stated the date and the coordinates as usual, and the screen blanked. Billie stared into the empty monitor for another moment, and then laughed abruptly. She was still alive. The transmission was over a month old, but the family had survived for so long already that she had to be. I would know if she was dead, she thought. I would know. The connection that Billie felt was too intense for it to be otherwise. The coordinates listed were already etched into her mind. Arona's bombs were part of an old-style military arsenal located in a remote area of the northwestern United States. Billie had been there once, when she and Wilks had escaped from Earth and ended up at Spears' planetoid. She and Wilks. And Mitch. She shook the memory. Surely a military bunker would have some kind of transportation. It wasn't impossible. Everything was falling into place. She was meant To save that family. To save Amy. Billie felt fully awake for the first time since leaving the mother alien's planet. She had been a follower for so long, for such a long time, had taken directions most of her life. This was her chance to make a difference. And it wasn't some distant dream anymore. It was here. Not on the scale of total extermination of the aliens, but it was hers. It was taking a stand that mattered most. She sat and daydreamed of possible futures. Hang on, Amy. Just a little bit longer. This is Gateway Station calling. Please identify yourself. Wilks looked at McQuaid and nodded. This is Captain McQuaid of the Kurtz, he said. I would like to speak with your CO. The time lag stretched past its limit. Wilks imagined the flurry of activity they had just caused and almost smiled. Bet we got some people pissing in their drawers right now, said McQuaid. Sir, said a voice, please stand by for Major Stone. Here we go, Wilks said. Captain McQuaid, this is Major Stone. The Major's voice rang with authority. Open your control modem for override. Actually, Major, we just wanted to talk for a minute. We have... Captain, we'll be glad to talk to you when we get you here. You know procedure. Now, if you'll just let us help you arrive safely, I'm sure we can work this out. Major Stone spoke slowly and carefully, as if he was directing a child, or a mental case. Major Stone, this is Sergeant Wilks. We are not coming to Gateway. We have the Queen alien on board the Kurtz, and we're taking her to Earth. There is no need for Gateway military involvement. This is just to let you know. He attempted to sound calm and reasonable. The Major did not bite. Sergeant, we are already sending people to fetch you. Now, you can come in like civilized men, or we can drag you in kicking and screaming, but you are coming to this station. Do you copy? Wilks silenced the comm. Tully. Station dispatched a ship, she said. I got the drive signal spewing all over my long-range sensor array. Well, we gave it a shot. Okay, McQuaid, get us out of here. He hit the comm button and spoke quickly. Gotta go, Major. Nice talking to you. Wilks, you can't... He cut Stone off and switched on the shipwide. Heads up, people. Looks like Gateway is coming to dinner, and we don't have a lot of time. The shit is about to hit the fan. Wilks's message echoed through the empty APC bay. Ripley ignored it. They would figure something out. It didn't matter, as long as she still had the Queen. Wouldn't want to miss the reunion, she whispered. I gotta take you home to die with your babies, monster. Everybody dies. Nothing else mattered.